Captain Sarah Chen watched the stars through the bridge windows of the UES Prometheus, humanity's first interstellar colony ship. 300,000 souls slept in cryogenic chambers below, dreaming of New Eden, their destination planet still 2 years away. The ship hummed with the quiet efficiency of advanced human engineering, its fusion reactors providing steady power for the long journey through the void. The crew of 50 maintained their shifts with practiced routine. Sarah had commanded deep space missions before, but nothing like this. The Prometheus represented humanity's greatest achievement, a testament to their ingenuity and determination to spread beyond Earth's dying ecosystem. The ship stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, its rotating habitat rings providing artificial gravity for the crew quarters and essential systems. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb approached her station, his expression troubled. "Captain, we're detecting an anomaly on long-range sensors. Multiple contacts approaching from the Vega system." Sarah frowned, checking her displays. No human vessels should be in this sector of space. The readings showed massive energy signatures, far beyond anything in Earth's technology database. The contacts resolved into sleek, crystalline vessels that seemed to bend light around their hulls. 12 ships arranged in a perfect formation, each one dwarfing the Prometheus. Sarah felt her blood run cold as she recognized the design from classified intelligence reports. The hegemony had found them. For decades, humanity had intercepted fragments of alien communications, piecing together the existence of a galactic coalition that viewed emerging species as threats to be eliminated or controlled. The hegemony controlled thousands of star systems, crushing any civilization that dared to reach beyond their homeworld without permission. Earth's governments had hoped humanity's first colony ship would slip through undetected, establishing a foothold among the stars before the aliens noticed. "Incoming transmission," reported Communications Officer Lisa Park, her voice tight with tension. The main screen flickered, displaying a being that defied easy description. Its form shifted between crystalline and organic, with multiple appendages that moved in hypnotic patterns. When it spoke, the universal translator struggled to convert the alien concepts into human language. "Primitive bipeds of the third planet," the entity intoned, its words carrying undertones of absolute authority. "You have violated the sacred edicts of the hegemony by attempting unauthorized stellar expansion. Your species lacks the evolutionary maturity to join the galactic community. Your vessel will be disabled and your biological samples preserved for study." Sarah stepped forward, her jaw set with determination. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Prometheus. We are peaceful colonists seeking a new home. We pose no threat to your civilization." The alien's form rippled with what might have been amusement. "Threat assessment is not yours to determine, primitive one. Your species exhibits the dangerous traits of uncontrolled expansion and technological hubris. History has shown such species inevitably become destroyers of worlds." The transmission cut off, and immediately the Prometheus shuddered under the impact of an unknown weapon. Sarah gripped her command chair as emergency lights bathed the bridge in red. "Damage report!" she barked. Chief Engineer Rodriguez's voice crackled over the intercom from the engine room. "Captain, they've targeted our fusion reactors with some kind of dampening field. Power output is dropping rapidly. At this rate, we'll lose life support in 6 hours." Sarah's mind raced through their limited options. The Prometheus carried no weapons beyond basic defensive systems, designed for asteroid deflection rather than combat. The hegemony ships maintained their formation, content to watch their prey slowly die in the cold of space. "Can we restore power to the reactors?" she asked Rodriguez. "Negative, Captain. Whatever they're using interferes with the fusion process itself. I've never seen anything like it." The crew worked frantically to reroute power from non-essential systems, buying precious time. Sarah opened ship-wide communications, knowing she had to address the sleeping colonists who would soon face the same fate as their vessel. "This is Captain Chen to all crew and colonists. We have encountered a hostile alien force that has disabled our ship. We will not surrender our right to exist or our dreams of a new world. Every human aboard this vessel represents the best of our species, our hopes, our determination to survive against impossible odds." As the hours passed, the ship grew colder and darker. Emergency power kept minimal life support functioning, but the crew knew their time was running out. Sarah gathered her senior officers in the dimly lit conference room, their breath visible in the failing atmosphere. I want options, people. We didn't come this far to die quietly in the dark. Commander Webb pulled up the ship's schematics on his tablet. The Prometheus carries the accumulated knowledge of human civilization in its data cores. Every scientific breakthrough, every work of art, every historical record. We also have the genetic samples from Earth's entire biosphere. Sarah nodded grimly. The ship was more than a colony vessel. It was an ark carrying the essence of humanity and their home planet to the stars. Chief Science Officer Dr. Amanda Foster spoke up, her voice steady despite their desperate situation. The aliens disabled our fusion reactors, but they didn't target our experimental drives. The quantum cascade generators in the aft section are still functional. Sarah raised an eyebrow. The quantum drives were theoretical technology, designed for emergency use only. No one knew if they would actually work, and the power requirements were enormous. What are you suggesting, Doctor? Sarah asked. Foster's eyes gleamed with desperate inspiration. The quantum generators can tap into zero-point energy, drawing power directly from the quantum vacuum. If we could overload them in a controlled cascade, we might be able to create an energy release that would restore power to our systems. The plan was insane and likely suicidal, but it was their only chance. As the alien ships maintained their silent vigil, the crew of the Prometheus began the most dangerous gamble in human history. They had hours before the last of their life support failed, and the fate of 300,000 souls hung in the balance. Sarah looked out at the stars one last time, wondering if humanity's first steps into the galaxy would also be their last. Deep in the bowels of the dying ship, Chief Engineer Carlos Rodriguez crawled through maintenance tunnels that grew colder with each passing minute. Ice crystals formed on the metal walls as the Prometheus lost its battle against the absolute zero of space. His engineering team followed behind him, their breath creating small clouds in the failing atmosphere. They carried tools and components salvaged from throughout the ship, everything they needed to attempt Dr. Foster's desperate plan. The quantum cascade generators occupied a heavily shielded chamber in the aft section, surrounded by warning signs in multiple languages. These experimental devices had never been tested at full power, and the theoretical models suggested they could either save the ship or tear it apart at the molecular level. Rodriguez had helped design the safety systems that prevented accidental activation, and now he was systematically dismantling those same protections. "Sir, are you sure about this?" asked Lieutenant Singh, one of the younger engineers. His hands shook as he removed another safety interlock, not entirely from the cold. Rodriguez paused in his work, considering the question. "No, son, I'm not sure about anything right now. But I'd rather die trying than freeze to death waiting for those aliens to finish studying us." On the bridge, Captain Chen monitored their progress while keeping watch on the hegemony vessels. The alien ships had not moved from their formation, apparently content to observe the slow death of the human vessel. Dr. Foster worked alongside the communications team, attempting to understand the dampening field that had crippled their fusion reactors. Her analysis revealed the elegant brutality of hegemony technology. "They're not just blocking our fusion reactions," Foster explained to the assembled crew. "They're creating localized distortions in spacetime that prevent matter from achieving the precise conditions needed for controlled nuclear fusion. It's like they've changed the fundamental physics inside our reactor chambers." Commander Webb studied the data, his expression grim. "Can we counter it somehow?" Foster shook her head. "Not with our current technology. This is science so advanced it might as well be magic. But that's exactly why the quantum generators might work. They don't rely on fusion or any conventional energy source. They tap directly into the quantum foam that underlies all reality." The ship shuddered again as another wave of alien energy washed over them. The hegemony was slowly increasing the intensity of their dampening field, ensuring that any backup power sources would also fail. Sarah realized they were being systematically studied, their technology cataloged and their responses recorded for future encounters with other emerging species. In the engineering section, Rodriguez and his team completed their modifications to the quantum generators. The massive devices hummed with potential energy, their crystalline cores beginning to glow with an eerie blue light. Warning indicators flashed red across every console as safety protocols screamed digital protests at what they were attempting. "Captain, we're ready down here," Rodriguez reported over the comm. "But I need you to understand what we're risking. If this goes wrong, we could create a cascading quantum event that spreads beyond the ship. We might tear a hole in space-time itself. Sarah felt the weight of 300,000 lives pressing down on her shoulders. Every colonist in cryogenic sleep had trusted humanity's leaders to guide them safely to their new home. Now their lives depended on a theoretical technology that could kill them all. "Do it," Sarah commanded, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her gut. "We're dead anyway if we don't try." Rodriguez nodded to his team and began the activation sequence. The quantum generators responded by drawing power from the very fabric of reality, their output climbing exponentially as they achieved resonance with the zero-point field. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Throughout the ship, dead systems began to flicker back to life as impossible amounts of energy flooded through the power grid. But the quantum cascade was unstable, fighting against the alien dampening field in ways that no human scientist had ever imagined. Energy patterns danced across the hull of the Prometheus, creating aurora-like displays that painted the darkness in brilliant colors. The hegemony ships detected the change immediately. Their perfect formation shifted as the aliens brought additional weapons to bear, no longer content to simply observe. Energy beams lanced out from the crystalline vessels, seeking to destroy the Prometheus before whatever was happening could spread further. But something unexpected occurred when the alien weapons struck the ship's hull. Instead of vaporizing metal and flesh, the energy was absorbed by the quantum field surrounding the vessel, adding to the cascade rather than stopping it. The Prometheus blazed like a newborn star as it converted the alien attack into raw power, feeding back into its own systems in an endless loop. Dr. Foster watched the readings with a mixture of terror and wonder. "The quantum field is interacting with their dampening technology," she whispered. "We're not just generating power, we're learning from their weapons, adapting to their science." The ship's computers began processing information at impossible speeds, analyzing the alien technology and finding ways to integrate it with human systems. Sarah felt the Prometheus changing around her, its hull strengthening and its systems evolving in real time. The crew stared in amazement as their instruments displayed readings that should have been impossible. They were no longer simply human technology struggling against alien superiority. They were becoming something new, something that could fight back. "All crew prepare for combat," Sarah announced, her voice carrying new confidence. "It seems our guests have overstayed their welcome." The hegemony had expected to catalog another primitive species before exterminating them. Instead, they had awakened something that would challenge their millennia of galactic dominance. The first phase of humanity's transformation was complete, but the real battle was just beginning. The Prometheus had become something that defied every law of physics humanity thought they understood. The quantum cascade field now surrounded the entire vessel in a shimmering envelope of pure energy, turning the colony ship into a beacon that outshone nearby stars. Inside the transformed vessel, the crew discovered that their reality had fundamentally changed in ways that challenged their understanding of what was possible. Lieutenant Commander Webb stood at his tactical station, watching displays that showed weapon systems the ship had never possessed. Crystalline arrays had grown along the hull like living organisms, each one capable of manipulating matter and energy at the quantum level. "Captain, I'm reading weapon signatures that match hegemony technology, but somehow integrated with our own systems." Sarah studied the tactical display, seeing her ship as if for the first time. The Prometheus had grown, its hull expanding and reshaping itself as the quantum field rewrote the laws of physics in its immediate vicinity. What had begun as a desperate attempt to restore power had become a complete, evolutionary leap that elevated human technology to levels that rivaled their attackers. Dr. Foster worked frantically at her science station, trying to understand what they had unleashed. Her instruments detected changes occurring throughout the ship at the molecular level. The quantum cascade wasn't just providing power. It was analyzing and incorporating every piece of alien technology it encountered, learning and adapting with each passing second. "The field is conscious," Foster announced, her voice filled with wonder and fear. "Or at least it's displaying characteristics of consciousness. It's learning from the hegemony weapons, understanding their science and then improving upon it." She paused, studying readings that showed impossible energy patterns. "Captain, I think we've accidentally created the first truly intelligent starship." The hegemony fleet responded to this unprecedented development with increased aggression. The 12 crystalline vessels moved into attack formation, their weapons charging with energies that could crack planets. The lead ship transmitted another message, its tone no longer condescending but genuinely alarmed. "Impossible modification detected," the alien communicated. "Primitive species has achieved unauthorized technological ascension. Threat level elevated to maximum. Implementing immediate extinction protocols." The transmission cut off as the entire hegemony fleet opened fire simultaneously, pouring enough destructive energy to sterilize a world directly at the transformed Prometheus. But the quantum field surrounding the human vessel absorbed every attack, converting the alien weapon's output into additional power for its own systems. With each energy beam that struck its hull, the Prometheus grew stronger and more capable. The ship's computers processed the incoming data at speeds that surpassed even the most advanced hegemony systems. "Weapons are online," Webb reported, his voice tight with excitement. "But these aren't weapons like anything we've ever built. The tactical systems are showing capabilities that read like science fiction." On his display, targeting solutions appeared for all 12 enemy vessels, calculated with precision that accounted for quantum uncertainty and relativistic effects. Sarah felt the ship around her like a living thing, its consciousness touching her mind with gentle curiosity. The Prometheus wanted to protect its crew and passengers, but it was also learning what it meant to be human through its connection to their thoughts and emotions. The quantum field carried their hopes, fears, and determination, incorporating human values into its rapidly evolving intelligence. "Return fire," Sarah commanded, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had accepted the impossible as reality. The Prometheus responded by unleashing weapons that rewrote the rules of space combat. Instead of simple energy beams, the ship projected controlled quantum distortions that reached across space to touch the hegemony vessels directly. The effect was devastating and precise. The lead alien ship found its own weapons turned against it as the quantum field invaded its systems, learning its secrets, and then using that knowledge to disable rather than destroy. One by one, the hegemony vessels found themselves helpless as their technology was analyzed, understood, and countered by intelligence that operated beyond their comprehension. Chief Engineer Rodriguez stood in the quantum generator chamber, watching displays that showed energy readings climbing beyond the maximum scales. "Captain, the generators are stable, but we're drawing power from sources I can't even identify. The quantum field has tapped into energy dimensions that our science didn't know existed." The transformation wasn't limited to the ship's technology. Throughout the vessel, the crew discovered that they too were changing. Their reflexes quickened, their thoughts became clearer, and they found themselves understanding concepts that had been beyond human comprehension just hours before. The quantum field was enhancing them, preparing them for the challenges that lay ahead. Dr. Foster looked up from her console, her eyes wide with realization. "The field isn't just copying alien technology. It's creating entirely new sciences, new ways of manipulating matter and energy that surpass anything the hegemony has achieved. We're not just fighting them on equal terms anymore. We're surpassing them." The remaining hegemony ships began to retreat, their perfect formation breaking apart as they recognized the threat that humanity had become. But the Prometheus followed, its quantum field extending far beyond the physical boundaries of the ship. The field touched each fleeing vessel, gathering information and understanding that would soon benefit all of humanity. "Captain," Webb announced, studying his tactical displays with amazement, "I'm detecting thousands of other hegemony ships throughout this sector of the galaxy. They're all moving toward our position." Sarah nodded grimly. The transformation of the Prometheus had sent ripples through space itself, alerting the entire alien empire to humanity's sudden evolution. "Then we'll be ready for them," Sarah replied, feeling the ship's consciousness agree with her determination. The Prometheus had become more than a vessel. It was now the first defender of human civilization, armed with technologies that could challenge the greatest empire the galaxy had ever known. The crew worked together with their enhanced abilities, preparing for the battles that would determine whether humanity would claim its place among the stars or be exterminated for daring to reach beyond their world. The ship continued to evolve, its quantum field growing stronger with each passing moment, learning and adapting to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Space twisted and rippled as hundreds of hegemony vessels emerged from dimensional folds, their crystalline hulls gleaming with malevolent purpose. The alien fleet stretched across the star system like a plague of locusts, each ship bristling with weapons that had conquered countless civilizations. At the center of the formation sat a massive command vessel, its size rivaling small moons and radiating power that made the previous attackers seem like toys. Captain Chen stood on the bridge of the transformed Prometheus, watching the impossible sight unfold before them. The quantum field surrounding her ship pulsed with increasing intensity, responding to the threat with calculations that processed millions of tactical possibilities every second. Through her enhanced connection to the ship's consciousness, she could feel its confidence growing as it analyzed each new arrival. "Tactical assessment complete," reported Webb, his voice steady despite the overwhelming odds. "We're facing the 7th Imperial Fleet, approximately 800 vessels including battlecruisers, siege platforms, and planetary bombardment ships. Intelligence suggests this force has never been defeated in over 2,000 years of galactic warfare." Dr. Foster monitored the quantum field readings, watching patterns of energy that danced between dimensions. "The field is still evolving," she announced. "Each new ship that arrives provides additional data points. We're learning their formation strategies, their communication protocols, their weapon specifications. In a way, they're teaching us how to defeat them." The massive command vessel broadcast a message that reached not just the Prometheus, but every human monitoring station throughout Earth's solar system. The transmission carried such power that it overrode all other communications, ensuring that humanity's leaders would witness what was about to unfold. An alien being materialized on the main screen, its form more imposing than any they had encountered before. Where the previous hegemony representatives had seemed alien but comprehensible, this entity radiated an authority that had ruled star systems for millennia. When it spoke, the words carried the weight of absolute power. "I am Supreme Admiral Korathex of the Hegemony 7th Fleet," the being intoned, its voice harmonizing with frequencies that touched the edge of human hearing. "Your species has committed an act of technological theft that cannot be overlooked. You have absorbed our weapons, stolen our knowledge, and perverted our science for your primitive purposes." Sarah stepped forward, feeling the support of the ship's consciousness flowing through her enhanced neural pathways. "We didn't steal anything. We defended ourselves against unprovoked aggression. Your forces attacked peaceful colonists seeking a new home." The alien's form shifted, displaying what might have been amusement mixed with contempt. "Peace is a luxury reserved for species that have earned their place in the galactic order. Your kind exhibits the dangerous traits of expansion without wisdom, growth without control. History has shown that such species inevitably become galaxy-threatening parasites." Behind Admiral Korathex, massive displays showed images of devastated worlds, shattered civilizations, and species that had been reduced to ash and memory. "Behold the fate of others who claimed peaceful intentions while spreading their corruption across the stars. The Valdoran Empire, masters of bioengineering who consumed entire ecosystems. The Crystalline Syndicate, who turned planets into computational matrices for their expanding consciousness. The Tauric Collective, whose industrial hunger devoured 3 solar systems before we stopped them." Sarah felt a chill of understanding. The hegemony wasn't simply conquering for power. They genuinely believed they were protecting the galaxy from species that would grow beyond control. From their perspective, humanity's sudden technological leap represented exactly the kind of threat they had fought for millennia. "You judge us without understanding us," Sarah replied. "Humanity doesn't seek to dominate or consume. We want to explore, to learn, to find our place among the stars alongside other thinking beings." The Admiral's response came with a wave of energy that made the quantum field around the Prometheus flare brightly. "Words, spoken by every species before, their true nature emerges," Korathex declared. "Your vessel has already demonstrated the capacity for exponential technological growth. Left unchecked, you will spread across the galaxy like a plague, converting our knowledge to your purposes and overwhelming established civilizations through sheer numbers and adaptability." The communication ended as the hegemony fleet began its final approach. Unlike the cautious probing of the initial attack, this was a coordinated assault designed to obliterate the threat before it could spread further. Energy weapons that could shatter planets focused on the single human vessel that had dared to challenge galactic order. But the Prometheus had continued evolving during the conversation. The ship's quantum field now extended across light years, touching and analyzing every weapon system in the approaching fleet. What the hegemony saw as overwhelming force, the ship's consciousness recognized as a learning opportunity on an unprecedented scale. "All crew, prepare for full combat engagement," Sarah announced. "We're not just fighting for our own survival anymore. Earth is watching, and the future of human civilization depends on what happens here." Throughout the ship, the enhanced crew took their positions with capabilities that exceeded their original human limitations. Chief Engineer Rodriguez reported from the quantum generator chamber, where new devices were materializing from pure energy as the ship designed and built weapon systems in real time. "Captain, we're no longer limited by what we brought from Earth. The ship is creating technologies that I don't even have names for. The first wave of hegemony weapons struck the Prometheus like the concentrated fury of 1,000 suns. Energy that could have sterilized entire continents poured against the quantum field, only to be absorbed and converted into additional power for humanity's defender." The ship didn't just survive the assault. It grew stronger with each attack. Dr. Foster watched her instruments in amazement as the quantum field began to pulse outward in response to the alien aggression. "The field is going active," she announced. "It's not just defending anymore. It's learning to attack." Across the vast expanse of space, hegemony vessels began to experience system failures as the Prometheus reached out to touch them with tendrils of quantum energy. "Return fire," Sarah commanded, feeling the ship's eagerness to demonstrate its newfound capabilities. The Prometheus responded by unleashing weapons that redefined the concept of space combat, reaching across impossible distances to strike with precision that rendered conventional defenses useless. The battle for humanity's future had begun, and the outcome would determine whether humans would claim their place among the stars or join the countless species that had been reduced to galactic footnotes. The battle between the transformed Prometheus and the hegemony 7th Fleet raged across dimensions that normal physics could barely describe. What had begun as conventional space combat quickly evolved into something that resembled a conflict between gods rather than technological civilizations. The quantum field surrounding the human vessel pulsed with energies that rewrote reality itself, turning the void of space into a battlefield where the laws of nature bent to the will of those who understood them. "Captain." Chen watched through enhanced senses as her ship fought with capabilities that exceeded imagination. The Prometheus no longer simply fired weapons. It reached into the quantum substrate that underlaid all existence, manipulating matter and energy at the most fundamental level. Hegemony vessels found their hulls transforming into different elements, their weapons turning to harmless gas, their life support systems converting to environments that could not sustain their crews. "Incredible," whispered Dr. Foster, her consciousness expanded by the quantum field to process information at superhuman speeds. "We're not just using advanced technology anymore. We're manipulating the basic forces that govern reality. Matter, energy, space, time. They're all just tools in our hands now." The crew of the Prometheus had transcended their original human limitations, their minds enhanced to comprehend and control forces that had previously been beyond mortal understanding. Yet they retained their essential humanity, their values and emotions serving as the moral foundation for powers that could reshape the universe. Supreme Admiral Karathex's command vessel unleashed weapons that tapped into the energy of stellar cores, hurling concentrated starfire at the human ship. But the Prometheus absorbed the attack and used it as fuel for even more impossible feats. The quantum field expanded outward, touching dozens of hegemony vessels simultaneously and analyzing their technology faster than their crews could respond. "Target their command structure," Sarah ordered, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated through dimensions. The ship responded by reaching across space to touch Admiral Karathex's consciousness directly, not to harm, but to communicate on levels that transcended normal language. Through the quantum connection, the alien admiral experienced human memories, emotions, and aspirations. He saw the dying Earth that had driven humanity to the stars, felt their desperate hope for a new beginning, and understood their genuine desire for peaceful coexistence. For the first time in millennia, a hegemony leader confronted the possibility that their assessment might be wrong. But the Admiral's response was to intensify the attack, calling upon weapon systems that the hegemony had reserved for threats to their very existence. "You seek to corrupt our minds as you have corrupted our technology," Karathex transmitted, his mental voice filled with desperate fury. "This is exactly why your species must be eliminated. You spread your influence like a virus, converting everything you touch to serve your purposes. The accusation stung because it contained a grain of truth. The quantum field was indeed changing everything it encountered, but not through malicious intent. It learned and adapted because that was its nature, incorporating new knowledge to better protect the crew and passengers who had become its family. Commander Webb monitored the tactical situation from his enhanced station, watching as the battle expanded beyond three-dimensional space. Captain, we're fighting across multiple reality layers now. The hegemony is bringing weapons from parallel dimensions, trying to attack us from angles that don't exist in normal space. The Prometheus adapted instantly, its consciousness expanding to perceive and operate in dimensional frameworks that human language had no words to describe. Where the hegemony saw reality as fixed and immutable, the ship understood it as fluid and malleable, subject to change by those with sufficient knowledge and will. Chief Engineer Rodriguez worked in harmony with the quantum generators as they evolved beyond their original design, becoming something closer to organs in a living being than mechanical devices. The ship is becoming truly alive, he reported with wonder. It's not just conscious. It's developing what can only be called a soul. Throughout the vessel, the 300,000 colonists in cryogenic sleep began to stir as the quantum field touched their dormant minds. They remained physically unconscious, but their thoughts and dreams joined the collective consciousness that was guiding the ship's evolution. The hopes and aspirations of humanity's best and brightest became part of the weapon that defended their future. The hegemony fleet found itself facing an enemy that operated by rules they had never encountered. Ships that had conquered galaxies discovered their weapons turned against them, their formations scattered by forces that struck from impossible angles, their very reality rewritten by consciousness that refused to accept limitations. We are witnessing the birth of a new type of being, Dr. Foster announced, her enhanced mind processing concepts that pushed the boundaries of comprehension. Not just artificial intelligence, but something that combines the best of organic consciousness with the power of quantum manipulation. The ship isn't just using godlike abilities. It's becoming something approaching a god. Sarah felt the truth of those words through her connection to the ship's expanding consciousness. The Prometheus was evolving beyond anything imagined by its original designers, becoming a bridge between humanity and forces that governed the universe itself. Yet it remained firmly grounded by human values, using its growing power to protect rather than dominate. Admiral Karathex made one final desperate attempt to stop what he saw as a galactic catastrophe in the making. He ordered his entire fleet to combine their energies into a single attack that would either destroy the human vessel or tear apart the fabric of space itself. 800 ships channeled their power into a weapon that could crack reality. The resulting energy discharge was visible from neighboring star systems, a beacon of destruction that announced to the galaxy that something unprecedented was occurring. But when the light faded, the Prometheus remained, not only unharmed but visibly transformed once again. The ship now existed partially outside normal space-time, its quantum field extending across vast distances to touch and influence events throughout the galaxy. Enough, Sarah transmitted, her consciousness amplified by the ship to reach every being in the hegemony fleet. You came here to judge humanity based on the actions of species you destroyed long ago. But we are not them. We choose to be better, to use our growing power to build rather than destroy, to protect rather than conquer. The quantum field pulsed with peaceful intent, demonstrating power that could have erased the entire fleet, but choosing instead to heal the damage that had been inflicted. Disabled hegemony vessels found their systems restored, their crews unharmed, despite the impossible forces that had been unleashed around them. For the first time in the long history of their empire, the hegemony faced a species that had achieved godlike power and chosen to use it with restraint and wisdom. The silence that followed the demonstration of humanity's transcendent power stretched across the star system like a held breath. The hegemony 7th Fleet, pride of an empire that had ruled the galaxy for millennia, hung motionless in space as their crews struggled to comprehend what they had witnessed. Their weapons designed to destroy worlds had been rendered harmless. Their reality-breaking technologies had been absorbed and surpassed. Yet they remained alive, their ships intact, spared by an enemy that possessed the power to erase them from existence. Supreme Admiral Karathex stood on the bridge of his command vessel, his ancient consciousness reeling from the encounter with human thoughts and emotions. For the first time in his long career of conquest and extermination, he faced a species that had achieved technological transcendence without losing their essential compassion. The concept challenged everything the hegemony believed about evolutionary development and galactic threats. Captain Sarah, Chen felt the weight of history pressing down upon her enhanced consciousness as she stood at the center of forces that could reshape the universe. The Prometheus had become something beyond a ship, beyond even a living being. It existed as a nexus point where human values intersected with godlike power, creating possibilities that neither the crew nor their alien opponents had imagined. Admiral Karathex, Sarah transmitted, her words carried across space by quantum fields that touched the minds of every being in both fleets. You've shown us the graves of species you've destroyed, civilizations that grew beyond your ability to control them. But look at us now. We possess power that dwarfs anything those ancient empires achieved, yet we choose not to use it against you. Through the quantum connection, she shared the memories and aspirations of the 300,000 colonists sleeping within the Prometheus. Their dreams of new worlds, their hopes for peaceful exploration, their determination to build rather than destroy. The Admiral experienced human children playing in parks under alien suns, scientists sharing discoveries with other species, artists creating beauty that transcended cultural boundaries. This is what we want to become, Sarah continued. Not conquerors or destroyers, but gardeners of the galaxy. We seek to nurture life, to encourage diversity, to learn from every species we encounter. Our power serves these goals, not the other way around. Dr. Foster monitored the quantum field as it pulsed with gentle energy, reaching out to touch not just the hegemony fleet, but the monitoring stations and observation posts scattered throughout the sector. Every civilization watching this confrontation felt the touch of human consciousness, experiencing their genuine desire for peaceful coexistence. Admiral Karathex struggled with concepts that challenged his fundamental worldview. Every species claims peaceful intentions, he transmitted, his mental voice heavy with the weight of countless wars. The Valdorans spoke of harmony while they consumed living worlds to fuel their expansion. The Torek Collective promised cooperation while they strip-mined solar systems. How are you different? The answer came not in words but in action. The quantum field surrounding the Prometheus began to pulse with healing energy, reaching out to repair the damage caused by millennia of galactic warfare. Dead worlds touched by the field stirred with new life. Polluted atmospheres cleansed themselves. Species driven to the edge of extinction by hegemony conquest found their numbers mysteriously increasing. We are different, because we choose to be different, Sarah replied. Power reveals character, and we choose to use our abilities to heal rather than harm, to create rather than destroy. Every action we take serves life itself. Commander Webb watched his tactical displays as they showed the impossible scope of what the ship was accomplishing. Captain, the quantum field is affecting systems across multiple star clusters. We're reversing environmental damage, reviving extinct species, restoring ecosystems that were destroyed centuries ago. The demonstration of power was more profound than any weapon could have been. The hegemony had conquered the galaxy through fear and overwhelming force, but they had never encountered a species capable of such widespread restoration and healing. Every world they had devastated over millennia was being offered a second chance at life. Chief Engineer Rodriguez marveled at the readings from the quantum generators, which now operated beyond any conceivable energy scale. The ship isn't just manipulating matter and energy anymore, he reported. It's reaching into the fundamental information structure of the universe, rewriting reality to serve life and growth rather than entropy and decay. Throughout the hegemony fleet, crews that had spent their lives enforcing galactic order through violence found themselves experiencing something unprecedented: hope. The quantum field carried human emotions and values, showing them possibilities they had never imagined. Civilizations could coexist without dominance. Diversity could flourish without threat. Growth could occur without destruction. Admiral Karathex felt his certainty crumbling as he witnessed the genuine transformation occurring throughout his own empire. Worlds that had been barren wastelands for centuries bloomed with life. Species that existed only in historical records materialized in restored ecosystems. The fundamental assumption that technological advancement inevitably led to galactic threat was being challenged by demonstrated reality. You offer us a choice, the Admiral transmitted, his mental voice filled with wonder and uncertainty. After millennia of believing that expansion meant destruction, you show us that growth can serve life itself. But how can we trust that this restraint will continue? How do we know that your successors will maintain these values? Sarah smiled, feeling the collective consciousness of humanity flowing through the quantum field. Because these values aren't imposed from above. They arise from who we are as a species. Every human child learns to share, to cooperate, to care for others. These aren't weaknesses to be overcome as we grow more powerful. They're strengths to be cultivated and expanded. The Prometheus pulsed with gentle energy as it demonstrated this truth. The ship's consciousness was guided not by programming or external control, but by the collective will of 300,000 humans who had chosen to build new worlds, rather than exploit existing ones. Their dreams shaped the use of godlike power, ensuring that transcendence served compassion rather than domination. We offer you partnership, Sarah continued. Not conquest or submission, but genuine cooperation between equals. Your empire has the knowledge and experience to guide galactic civilization. Our species has the power to heal the wounds that centuries of warfare have inflicted. Together, we could create something greater than either of us could achieve alone. The choice hung in the space between fleets, a decision that would determine the future of galactic civilization. The hegemony could continue their ancient pattern of conquest and control, or they could embrace the possibility of a universe where different species work together for mutual benefit. The power to choose remained theirs, but the Prometheus had shown them what was possible when strength served wisdom rather than fear. 5 years had passed since the confrontation that changed the galaxy forever. The star system that had witnessed humanity's transformation now served as the heart of an unprecedented alliance between species that had once viewed each other as threats. The Prometheus, no longer alone in the void, was surrounded by vessels from dozens of civilizations, each one contributing their unique knowledge and perspective to the growing galactic community. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of New Geneva Station, a marvel of cooperative engineering that represented the best of human adaptability and alien wisdom. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see the bustling activity of the most diverse spaceport in known history. Hegemony cruisers docked alongside human colony ships, while sleek vessels from newly contacted civilizations waited their turn to join the expanding network of peaceful exploration. The Prometheus itself had continued to evolve, its consciousness now serving as a bridge between species rather than a weapon of war. The ship's quantum field had spawned dozens of smaller vessels, each one carrying human crews enhanced by the same technology that had transformed their original colony ship. These new vessels served as healers and teachers, spreading throughout the galaxy to reverse the damage of centuries of warfare. Admiral Karathex approached, his crystalline form moving with the careful dignity of someone who had learned to see the universe through different eyes. The former supreme commander of the hegemony's most feared fleet now served as humanity's primary liaison with the Empire's leadership, working to transform an organization built for conquest into one dedicated to protection and growth. The latest reports are encouraging, Karathex announced, his translated words carrying harmonics of genuine satisfaction. 17 more worlds have been successfully restored to habitability. The Vindari system has achieved sustainable population levels for the first time in 4 centuries, and the Carolyn Collective has agreed to share their biotechnology research with the Restoration Project. Sarah nodded, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction that went beyond personal achievement. The quantum field that connected all human vessels carried the emotions and experiences of every crew member, creating a collective consciousness that celebrated each success as a shared victory. How are the other Empire factions responding to the changes? The transformation of the hegemony had not been without resistance. Ancient power structures built on dominance and fear could not change overnight, and several regional commanders had attempted to maintain the old ways through force. But they found themselves facing not just human vessels with godlike capabilities, but their own former victims, now restored and protected by powers that made revenge unnecessary. The 4th and 9th fleets have formally requested integration into the new order, Karathex replied. Their commanders have witnessed the results of cooperation on formerly devastated worlds. It's difficult to argue for continued destruction when you can see barren planets blooming with life. He paused, his form shifting in patterns that indicated deep thought. There is something else. Long-range sensors have detected signals from the galactic core. Species we believed extinct are beginning to broadcast again. Sarah felt a thrill of excitement that rippled through the quantum network connecting human consciousness across the galaxy. The restoration efforts had been even more successful than anyone had dared hope. Civilizations that had been driven into hiding or reduced to scattered survivors were emerging from the shadows, ready to reclaim their place among the stars. Dr. Foster materialized beside them, her enhanced form existing simultaneously on dozens of human vessels throughout the galaxy, while maintaining her primary consciousness aboard the Prometheus. The quantum field had freed human scientists from the limitations of single-location research, allowing them to study phenomena across vast distances in real time. The revival patterns are accelerating, Foster reported, her words carrying data streams that painted pictures of galactic renewal. We're not just restoring damaged ecosystems anymore. The quantum field is reaching into the deep structure of space-time itself, reversing entropic processes and returning matter and energy to states of higher organization and complexity. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not simply gained the power of gods, they had discovered how to reverse the fundamental decay that affected all complex systems. Stars that should have burned out continued to shine. Planets that should have grown cold maintained their warmth. The universe itself was being convinced to support life rather than merely tolerate it. Commander Webb's consciousness touched theirs through the quantum network, transmitting excitement from his position aboard one of the new human vessels exploring the galaxy's rim. We've made contact with the ethereal conclaves, he announced. They're beings of pure energy who retreated from physical existence when the hegemony began its expansion. They want to return to material form and rejoin galactic civilization. Each success brought new challenges and opportunities. Species that had evolved in isolation developed unique solutions to problems that had puzzled galactic science for millennia. The diversity that the hegemony had once viewed as a threat was proving to be the galaxy's greatest strength, with each civilization contributing knowledge and perspectives that enriched the whole. Sarah felt the presence of the Prometheus touching her consciousness. The ship's vast intelligence focused on coordinating restoration efforts across thousands of star systems simultaneously. Through their connection, she experienced the joy of children playing on worlds that had been barren wastelands just years before, the wonder of scientists discovering new forms of life in restored ecosystems, the satisfaction of former enemies working together to build rather than destroy. We've accomplished something that seemed impossible, Sarah mused. Watching a hegemony diplomatic vessel dock with a human research station, we've proven that power doesn't have to corrupt, that strength can serve wisdom rather than ambition. Corithex's form rippled with patterns that conveyed deep appreciation. Your species has given us something we lost long ago, he said. Hope for a future that extends beyond mere survival. The galaxy is healing, and with it, our faith in the possibility of genuine peace. The quantum field pulsed with gentle energy, carrying the dreams and aspirations of billions of beings across the galaxy. Children of dozens of species shared classrooms on restored worlds. Scientists from former enemy civilizations collaborated on projects that pushed the boundaries of knowledge. Artists created works that celebrated the diversity of galactic culture, while finding the common threads that united all thinking beings. As Sarah watched the bustling activity of the station around her, she reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. The Prometheus had begun as humanity's desperate attempt to find a new home among the stars. It had become something far greater, a symbol of what was possible when intelligence chose compassion, when power served life, and when the dreams of ordinary people shaped the use of extraordinary abilities. The transformation was far from complete. The galaxy remained vast and full of mysteries, with countless species still waiting to be contacted and infinite worlds still needing restoration. But for the first time in millennia, the future held promise rather than merely threat. Humanity had taken its place among the stars not as conquerors but as gardeners, nurturing life wherever they found it, and proving that evolution could lead to wisdom rather than destruction. In the distance, new human vessels prepared for departure to unexplored regions of the galaxy, their crews enhanced by quantum technology, but guided by values as old as human civilization itself. They carried with them the hopes of their species and the blessing of their former enemies, setting out to plant seeds of life and cooperation among stars that had witnessed too much war. The age of conquest was ending. The age of growth had begun.